The only thing alikuwa anafanya ukimwongelesha tu ni Sheikh alikuwa tu anafanya cheka.
Whenever you ask a mother who is the dearest person to them in this universe, they will always name their kids. Jackline is no different.
Akupe chipo la baba.
The father of my child's father passed away last year. His mother died this year. The father of my child has become useless. Sorry to say, but he is not good. He steals people's things. His sister also steals people's things, even from guests. I heard they even stole at a funeral. Their older sister is mentally ill. People think it's stress, but it's not. Now I speak without fear because the Sheikh gave me freedom. Dying is not easy anymore.
You wouldn't believe Jackline's son was taken away from her, and when he saw her after 11 years, he was a teenager. If you think that is painful, then you will be shocked to know that when this mother saw her son for 11 years, she couldn't recognize him because her bright toddler son was taken away from her. He was not even able to talk, walk, or even bathe by himself. But the kid you see here looks fine, right? Well, that happened because of his mother's love, her determination to do anything to cure her kid. You would have heard people saying that when medication fails, prayers begin working from there. Something similar happened to this family. What is Jackline's story? Why it took her 11 years to meet her kid? How come she didn't know what was happening to her son? And what happened to her son when he was with his father? I bet you might be having the same questions, because when I heard Jackline's story, I too had my share of questions. So I visited them to find legitimate answers, and when I came to know the whole story, it took me days to gather myself. You are also going to get answer to your question in this video, but trust me when I say this video is not going to be an easy one. Let's jump in. When I visited Jackline, it was not easy for her to share her story, but she was adamant to do anything to tell the world how evil people can be, how her kid's father was inhuman to his son.
Yvonne Jackline.
My name is Yvonne Jackline Atieno. I had a son named Jaffar with a man I loved. After 3 years together, we separated, and Jaffar's father took him. We had a custody battle, but I couldn't see my child. I kept trying to contact him, but his father wouldn't allow it. This went on for 11 years. When he took my child, Jaffar was only 3 years old.
How can a man take the 3-year-old kid away from his mother? Even if he gained the kid's custody, he had no right to keep a child away from his mother for 11 years straight. This act is monstrous in itself.
For 11 years.
After 11 years, they finally allowed me to see him. During these 11 years, I too had some problems. No one was able to cure me. That is when a sheikh helped me. My child had issues, so I went to the sheikh for prayers. During that time, I had forgotten about my child for 5 years. When I returned from the sheikh, I remembered my child and started following up again.
Jaffar, assalamu alaikum. Salama.
Why did you trust Sheikh so much? And how did you come to know about him?
The first time I met the Sheikh, I was living in Lakisama. There was a woman who had a problem with me. She troubled me a lot until I said enough is enough. I was alone with my child who was 2 years old. I told the Sheikh and he told me I needed to go to him. So I traveled. That visit wasn't about Jaffar. I once picked up a bottle in Kariobangi bangi, not knowing what it was for. I was like a street child, but I went to the Sheikh and he prayed for me. I had ulcers and high blood pressure. The Sheikh treated me for those. When I returned, I remembered my child.
Seems like Jackline's husband was trying to keep her away from their son via some supernatural means, else how could a mother completely forget about her son? This sounds like something completely out of the world, isn't it? Jackline's going back to find her son. After a decade of getting back, her conscience clearly shows how much she loved her son, like any mother would do.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kwa majina naitwa
Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. My name is Sheikh Miraji Zubair and I live in Kibaha, Tanzania. My work is religious, but I also pray for people. I pray for those with various problems, including those facing issues related to witchcraft and spirits. I also pray for those with liver cancer, kidney problems, stomach ulcers, and other diseases. I live in Dar es Salaam, but I occasionally come to Nairobi to help people who call me for prayers. I came to see a young man I had been treating for about 4 years but had never met. His name is Jaffar and his mother is Jackline. She came to me with various ailments and I helped her son who couldn't speak, walk or do anything. She asked me to pray and find out what was needed for his treatment.
Jaffar,
Jambo huyu hapa. Karibu.
Huyu ni Jaffar. Jaffar, assalamu alaikum. Salama.
It was natural for Jackline to seek help from Sheikh because he is the one who cured her and clearly he had an answer to her questions.
Piga simu akawa bado hawanikubali niongee naye.
I called, but they wouldn't let me talk to him. After going to the Sheikh a second time, they allowed me to speak to him a little, but I noticed he didn't want to talk to me. When I called him Emmanuel, he would just grunt. I asked him to speak, but he only made sounds. I asked what was wrong, but no one told me. When they finally allowed me to see him, I told the Sheikh I was going to see my child who had been taken by his father. At that time, he was living in Parkland with his grandmother's sister. I didn't know them, and I passed by him outside. I was given directions and went to the house. I was told to wait while they called him. When he came, I realized he was the disabled boy I had passed outside. It was him. I didn't cry. I held back my tears because even when my child was taken, it wasn't in a good way. I pretended everything was fine so I could understand his situation. I wanted to know what was happening. I sat there and he was disabled. One leg was twisted and one arm wasn't functioning properly. When I first saw him, I didn't cry. I stayed silent and held back my tears, but I was in shock. I stayed there and was told it was time for him to bathe. I said it was okay. Let him bathe. They told me to go and bathe him because he couldn't bathe by himself. I didn't even know where to start.
Hawezi kuoga peke yake.
Jackline would have felt immense guilt in this situation. We cannot even feel the pain of mother who at first didn't recognize her kid, and when she saw him, he was completely different, like he was born this way, but that was not the case. Every mother will blame herself in such a situation. Jackline would have also done the same, but you see, without Sheikh's prayers, Emmanuel's father was not letting these two meet. Sharing all this was not easy for Jackline. Feeling a mother's emotions of guilt and care made me numb.
He couldn't speak. When I talked to him, he would just make a sound like
Sheikh ilikuwa tu anafanya.
He kept doing that. I pretend everything was normal because I wanted to understand the situation. Then they started accusing me. I wondered if I had left my child or if his father had taken him. So I went to bathe him. He was a teenager now. From that moment, I started thinking about who I could talk to because I didn't understand. Was this really my child who was in baby class? The same child who knew how to join dots, speak, and even write? Was it really him? What happened to his arm? He was mute now, yet he used to talk in regular school.
Emmanuel is such a sweet kid. I had a good time with him. Looking at a kid in such a devastating condition would have broken Jackline in pieces. Every mother weaves dreams for her kid. 11 years ago, this kid was completely different. The worst part is that Jackline had no clue what happened to her son. How did he become this? Adding to it, no one offered her any answers.
So nilithink
So I thought about who could help me. I decided to call the Sheikh because I respected him and he had helped me before. When I called him the first time, I couldn't even speak. He asked me what the problem was, but I couldn't speak. I hung up the phone and cried on the way, and people were staring at me. Later, I corrected myself and called him again. I told him about my child. He asked, "Which one?" I told him about the child who was taken from me. He asked what had happened. I told him I didn't know. The child couldn't speak and was disabled. I didn't know what the problem was.
Alhamdulillah, baada ya hapo nikawa
Alhamdulillah. After that, I told her to give me 3 days to reflect on what was troubling the child. I discovered that the child's condition was caused by human action and the pursuit of wealth. Despite warnings from God, some people use unethical means to acquire wealth. People still harm each other to gain wealth. I told her that the child needed to be brought to me to complete his treatment. I prayed to God for more strength to understand and resolve the issues quickly. After that, I heard the child was returned. I reflected on many worldly matters. Understanding the child's condition wasn't easy. It required special prayers guided by Allah. Allah helps His people solve their problems. Going down that memory lane was not easy for Jackline, and seeing her in pain made me doubt having this conversation. But I can't emphasize how strong this woman is. Seems like something fishy happened to the boy, and this story is clearly the battle of good and evil. What did you do then? What did Sheikh ask you to do?
Sheikh akaniambia, "Hebu andika jina la mtoto."
The Sheikh told me to give him the names of the child, the father and myself, so he could look into the problem. I agreed and sent him the names. He told me to wait while he prayed. Later, when he called back, he was in Tanzania. He was shocked and asked, "What is this? Who are these people?" He was angry and asked, "What kind of person can do this to another?" He said they had ruined the child. He told me the child had been given 3 heavy things, which was wrong. He was astonished and asked if these were animals or what kind of people they were. He asked what we should do next and how he could help. He said they hadn't finished their work but were close to completing it. He told me there was something we could do. He would pray and fast to stop it from continuing. I agreed and did as he said.
Oh my God, how can people think of doing such evil things to kids?
Ndio sasa baadaye tena baada ya masiku nikampiga.
Later, after some days, I called him again and explained everything. He asked, "When those people silent and even the father didn't want to talk to you?" I told the Sheikh that for 11 years, the child used to be sent by the teacher from the school to tell me what the teacher had said. Now he was mute, he couldn't speak or do anything. The child used to be able to print and join dots. I told the Sheikh there was nothing he could do now. The Sheikh told me not to worry because we had managed to stop it. Since they were silent, they knew what they were doing. He told me they had started praying for the child and I would see them starting to look for me. Now, the Sheikh told me not to engage with them. he continued his treatment while in the Tanzania. Gradually, they started allowing me to visit my child and even sent me transport money when I said I didn't have any. I lived in Rongai and they would send me transport and tell me to come. Every time I went, I would inform the Sheikh. I called him and updated him on the situation. He would tell me what to do. When I visited my child and left, I would tell the Sheikh what had happened. By then, he was in Tanzania. So I saw my child and returned several times. After 2.5 years, I went to see him again and found that he could speak. Even they were surprised and said, "Hey, this child can talk." They had transferred him to another school called Oran Community in Rongai. According to them, they claimed it was the school that helped with speech therapy, which is why he could speak. But I knew the Sheikh had told me to remain silent and not show any signs that I was aware. He warned me not to say anything because those people were powerful and wealthy. They could take drastic measures that could harm me. Sheikh is the one who revealed to me that they had harmed the child by placing 3 very powerful things on him to make money.
This is a perfect example of miracle. How can anyone explain Sheikh's praying in a different place to cure a boy who is not even somewhere near him? It is an out-of-the-world phenomenon. Like, the boy's father's family tried something evil on him and took his life away. His mother was trying to be the good one here. Even she didn't understand what happened to her boy. I believe neither I nor Yvonne particularly understand what happened to Jaffar. It is Sheikh and Jaffar's secret, or maybe just Sheikh and Jaffar's father's secret.
Ikafika time ni kama walikuwa nataka nimchukue.
So you should act completely ignorant. They can make you unable to wake up again. It seemed like they wanted me to take him, but they couldn't say it. I told the Sheikh and he advised me not to take him. He asked if the father was the one who took the child and I said yes. He told me to wait until they brought him back themselves. I asked the Sheikh how they would return him and he said they would. He told me to give them time. So I waited. I stayed quiet and whenever I went to see him, I would return. Last year, they finally gave me the child. Last year, his grandfather died. Before he died, he came to Nairobi to look for me, but the Sheikh told me not to go. He was sick and bedridden for 2 months before he died. The Sheikh told me to attend the funeral so they could see I was with them.
These stars need a lot of courage, especially when she was dying to have her kid with her. However, she respects the Sheikh so much and she wants her kid to get well and be ready to wait a little more after waiting for 11 years. This is what motherhood does to a woman. Maybe she wouldn't have kept such patience for herself, but she was ready to do anything for her son.
Aya, sasa kwa mazishi nikaenda.
At the funeral, I got closer to them. One of his uncles, who is a surgeon in Germany, agreed to help me because I had a small house. He sent me 30,000 shillings for the first time and I moved. They brought the child to me. Just as the Sheikh said, his father brought him. He came with him on easy coach to town. I went and took him. Now, I have been living with the child. Living with him hasn't been easy. The Sheikh has been praying for him and we continue with the treatment. He can now speak and walk, but I am still stuck. I haven't finished his treatment and I need to take him to the Sheikh to complete it at home.
Ustadi, ni wewe, shikamoo. Nzuri. Salama, karibu. Umefika?
Nashukuru, alhamdulillah.
Karibu, ingia. Ingia, karibu ndani.
Asante. Na kweli vile vile waliweza kumleta mtoto.
Now, I have come to see the young man and give him more treatment. He hasn't been able to come to me yet. My advice to parent and guardian is that a child is obtained through a special process, not just by the mother or father alone. It requires an agreement between both parents. Actions like separating a child from their parents are detestable to God and society.
jinsi ya kufika kwa Sheikh imekuwa ni
I have struggled to reach the Sheikh because of financial difficulties. It is hard and the child is used to eating whatever we get. We survive on one meal a day, even if it's just plain tea. We manage with whatever we have.
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
This incident makes us doubt our understanding of the world. We are people who shun supernatural thought. But here we have a living example who went through it all. I wonder, will Jaffar recover from every deformity in his body? But after seeing his recovery from Sheikh's prayers, I believe he will. I just wish this boy would not remember what he went through in the early years of his life.
aliniambia shida ya hiyo boma ni hiki.
He told me the problem in that family is the thing they placed on my child. When it comes out, there will be no peace in that family. My child is the key. If he gets better, they will be ruined.
Amerudi sawa na tumeisha.
Tumeisha. Ile unono ule.
Jackline has blind faith in Sheikh, and it makes sense. I guess all of us can understand why she values Sheikh so much. He's the person who helped her in uniting with her son. He's the one who made him better. A mother devotes her life to her kids, and Jackline has proven this statement, and I know she will not refrain from making any efforts to cure Jaffar.
Inshallah. Bismillahir Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin.
Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and share Jackline's incredible story with the world.